So fucking Putin. It was Putin. It was Putin. When it comes to all those explosions that was happening all throughout Ukraine, all throughout Kiev and Kharkiv and Kharkiv, no, not Kharkiv and Odessa and other cities in Ukraine. Those were, God, Russia's been fucking with Ukraine for quite some time. They were talking about cyber attacks. They were telling all the Russians to leave. They had cyber attacks and there was bomb threats, a whole bunch of bomb threats. So there's this massive propaganda campaign. They had all the damn troops lined up, 140,000, 200,000 troops lined up on the northern parts of Ukraine, not just the eastern part where the, disputed regions and the Luhansk and the Donetsk republics. Yeah, right. That was some bullshit, wasn't it? The events of February 23rd, 2022 may live in infamy. Kiev, Kharkiv, Odessa, other cities across Ukraine. This is the massive main invasion of Russia into Ukraine. The Ukrainian city of Mariupol has already been sacked. It's already fallen into Russian hands. Scott Ritter said so on Medhurst. So they've already taken one city, and then Scott Ritter says it's all going to be gone tomorrow. So we heard blast explosions in the Black Sea port city of Odessa, with police and ambulance sirens heard across the Ukrainian capital city of Kiev. Explosions rang out in Kharkiv, a large city 35 kilometers south of the Russian border. An American journalist I heard was reportedly killed. So they've already got, Putin's got, American blood on his hands. 4 loud blasts rang out in Kramatorsk, a frontline city that serves as the Ukrainian government's effective capital for the eastern war zone, and more were heard in the eastern port city of Mariupol. Mariupol's gone. They've already taken Mariupol. They've already taken the entire city, and all this other stuff is just them. They're gunning. They're taking over goddamn Ukraine. So America, this is one geopolitical event you may want to pay a little bit of attention to. So there's airstrikes, okay? There's airstrikes. They're saying it's on military targets. RT verified it. Zelensky did too. And apparently there's not been any threats to the civilians. That's what we're being told. But there is threats to the military. The choice for the military, either surrender or die. The ambassador at the United Nations for Ukraine, he was very emotional and very pissed off, and he's like, the world needs to unite to stop this blind, naked Russian aggression. This is blind, naked Russian aggression. He's absolutely right. The world does need to unite to stop the whole point of the greatest generation, the legacy of the United Nations and the human rights, is to stop one nation from invading another sovereign nation. Look, one person is not allowed to, hurt another person. So therefore it should be the same with nation states too. Fuck the autocracy. Fucking Putin. Goddamn, he's been running the damn Russians since 1999 for 23 fucking years. He's been running them damn Russians. I thought the Russians were tough. Rocky IV made them look tough, but shit, Putin makes them look fucking small. Jesus Christ. Taking back Ukraine is one of Putin's main long-term strategic goals for him. He's 67 years old. This is like his legacy. This is one of his main legacies for Russia. I mean, motherfucker's been running shit for 23 fucking years. Nobody should have been fooled by that Luhansk and Donetsk Republic bullshit. It's, he did that shit in Georgia, but he's really going for the whole enchilada. He's going for the whole shebang. So that Luhansk and Donetsk, it's free Luhansk and Donetsk, huh? Just like, free Tibet, free Luhansk and Donetsk. What about Ambazonia? Is anybody going to recognize the separatist in Cameroon, the English-speaking separatist Ambazonia? Is it going to take Russia to protect Ambazonia too? But Luhansk and Donetsk, they're fucking provinces. They're counties. They're just administrative units of Ukraine. Luhansk isn't China. Donetsk is not fucking Italy. Maybe they're Luxembourgs and Liechtensteins, I guess, now. But they're a province or a state or a county of Ukraine. Putin is trying to take over a nation of 44 million people. Overtly, militarily. He's taken over all of Ukraine. He's not democratically elected. He's taken over a democratically elected president. His elections are a sham. To be president of Ukraine, you have to have lived in Ukraine for 10 years. You have to know the Ukrainian language. Putin wouldn't know a damn fair election if it took a big old shit on his fucking head. He's a totalitarian dictator. So the Russians can't get rid of him, but what about the rest of the world? Are we going to be able to get rid of him? It took, 8 or 9 coalitions to stop Napoleon. Scott Ritter on Richard Medhurst. I believe in Scott Ritter. He's the one that pointed out there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So you have a population in Mariupol, 430,000. That's like 4 pueblos. So you got this Ukrainian city. It's already fell. We just heard explosions. I was just, Jackson Hinkle, and then right off the top of the hour, there was explosions and shit. Russia has already sacked one city in Ukraine, Mariupol. Scott Ritter says that Ukraine will collapse tomorrow because the military of Ukraine versus the Russian military, there is no comparison. He says there's Russian troops in Odessa right now. The Russian troops are already pouring out of Crimea. The Ukrainian military really only has 2 options, according to Scott Ritter, surrender or die. And he says there's been a bunch of, people that's been hyping all them. So, and then Putin himself said that his goals were twofold. He wanted to demilitarize Ukraine and de-Nazi, have a denazification and a demilitarization. Yeah, fuck the Nazis, whatever Nazis you could find. But in 2019, the right-wing groups only won 3% of the damn seats. So the Nazis have no political power. If there are Nazis, in Ukraine, there's not many Nazis, and they're not all Nazis. There's a bigger Nazi presence in America than there is in Ukraine. For Scott Ritter, though, he says Ukraine is done. Ukraine is over. It's over with. By tomorrow, what we think and know of Ukraine, it won't be the same anymore. So that's incredible. They've already taken Mariupol, right? You're going to have, a bunch of paratroopers that's going to jump into Kyiv? And why isn't the world standing the fuck up? This is bullshit. This is clear, naked aggression. This is clear, outright imperialism. This is goddamn Russia taking over another fucking state. The invasion begins. Phase 1, ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, attacks on key military infrastructure, airstrikes to continue day and night. It's almost 7 a.m. Tanks are rolling to cross the border. Fierce combat will start within the hour. U.S. hegemony is dead. It's a multipolar world, right? The U.S. isn't the world's lone superpower anymore. It's a multipolar world. Putin forced those Ruskies to lick his asshole for the last 23 years, and now he's making the rest of the world pucker up as well. America, you're number one. No, not even in military. You're not even number one in military anymore. You better start boning up on your damn Russian. You know how to speak any Russian? You know how to write Russian? Their language looks like a bunch of fucking horse, like a horse just puked. A bunch of bird shit. So you have to practice your Russian language, your Russian tongue, and your Russian goose step. Russia has redrawn the Slavic borders. Baltic states, they're their own nations. I thought Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, I thought these are, I guess, who knows? Who knows what the hell is going to, what about Taiwan? What's it going to mean for the rest of the world's countries? I mean, my God, what's good, is Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Taiwan? Can China just take Taiwan back now? Does U.S. military might? I guess it don't mean shit no more. Nation states have a right to defend themselves and each other. We have a right to defend ourselves. right? Russia wants to invade our nation. We have a right to defend ourselves. That's a natural right. We spend 700 billion, $800 billion on all those billions of dollars on military might, and we can't even save one of the largest countries in Europe. Jesus Christ, why don't we're just turning our back on Europe, huh? No more goddamn Marshall plans. 44 million people in Ukraine, 44 million souls. Just going to turn your back on 44 million souls? The Ukrainians are Ukrainians. 70% reject the whole one country, one nation ideas of Putin's. So they do not want to become a part of Russia. He's just forcing this shit upon them. There's only 13 ethnic Russian and some, Russian speakers. 87% are Ukrainian. Ukrainians love Ukraine. Ukraine loves Ukrainians. Mila Kunis has been strangely quiet on this matter. I haven't heard from Pussy Riot either, but Ina Shevchenko, a feminine, has been tweeting all about this. The European markets are going to collapse too. There you go. It's going to attack the dollar. It's going to attack your pocketbook. Are you paying attention yet, America? Capitalist imperialist America, who's, fledgling and stumbling all over the goddamn place. You want to, save some credibility? Why don't you stand up for Ukraine? Why don't you stand up for, doing good and right and proper? Jesus Christ, you went ahead and murdered 1 million Iraqi people for the fuck of it. Why don't you, go into Ukraine and kill a bunch of Russian motherfucking imperialist bastards? Not for the fuck of it, but for, actual purpose to stop their authoritarian colonization, imperializing bullshit. The European markets are going to collapse. Does that mean the stock market is going to collapse? Does that mean the entire world is going to... 70% of the Ukrainians do not believe in Putin's one country idea. So they're the minority. The ethnic Russians are the minority in Ukraine. Ukraine is made up of 44 million people. There 44 million people. What? 4 million are Russian. So we're just going to give 40 million Ukrainian people to the Russians. This shit is crazy. This shit is scary too. And frankly, the decision is he a fucking Hitler or is he an Otto von Bismarck? Is he just taking the territory here and there? No, we're already determining he's taking over the whole fucking state. So he's a Hitler like a motherfucker. He's a Hitler like a motherfucker, which means this is World War III. That means it's on like fucking Donkey Kong. You gotta nip that shit in the bud immediately. As soon as Hitler started going around doing his Hitler fucking shit, you gotta nip that. You gotta be like Antifa. You gotta nip that shit in the bud. And his history, when it comes to what he thinks about Ukraine, it's Edward Snowden is Putin's only saving grace. I mean, he's better on Snowden than a lot of U.S. government officials. But he's probably just scared of him. He probably don't want to cross Edward Snowden. Think he'll get hacked later on or some shit. Holodomor. So you had the famine under Stalin. So you had 4 million Ukrainians who were killed under the famine. And then you had the Chernobyl 1986 nuclear disaster, which happened about 60 miles north of Kyiv. The Holodomor is one of the most substantive narratives in present-day Ukraine. There's monuments to its victims in Kyiv. Ukraine declared independence in 1918, maintained that status until 1921. The government in Kyiv changed hands 5 times in 1919. The Bolsheviks took advantage of the turmoil, focused their attention on undermining Ukrainian national sentiment. When the Bolsheviks seized Kyiv in early 1918, they targeted sites that were part of the Ukrainian identity. The Bolsheviks shelled the Ukrainian museum established by the head of the Ukrainian state, Mikhailo Hrushevsky. People caught speaking Ukrainian on the streets of Kyiv were shot and killed. Fucking shit, the Bolsheviks were anti-Ukrainian. Faced with a bunch of pressure from a Ukrainian guerrilla resistance, Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin eventually agreed to create a Ukrainian entity under the Soviet Union in 1922. Ukraine had some jurisdiction over its domestic affairs, but defense, foreign policy, commerce, these were in the hands of Moscow. Soviet Ukraine This is the result of the Bolsheviks' policy, and this is what Putin says. It can be called Vladimir Lenin's Ukraine. Actually, an independent Ukrainian state briefly existed after World War I before it was incorporated into the Soviet Union. Both the Russians and the Ukrainians trace their origins to the former medieval empire of the Kievan Rus, the first East Slavic Orthodox state that contained parts of the territories of contemporary Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. Vladimir the Great is considered a founding father of Ukraine. A statue of him has existed since 1853 in Kiev. In 2016, Putin, like a weirdo, put Vladimir the Great next to the Kremlin because he said he was a founding father of the all-Rus state. Ukrainians would argue that Kievan Rus had nothing to do with Russia and that Moscow did not even exist then. America has tweeted because of this invasion, February 23rd, 2022. The prayers of the world are with the people of Ukraine tonight as they suffer an unprovoked and unjustified attack by Russian military forces. President Putin has chosen a premeditated war that will bring a catastrophic loss of life and human suffering. My God, I wonder how hard will the Ukrainian military fight? And what if they're like Gonzaga? What if they're like a Cinderella team? And, even though Scott Ritter thinks that they're going to collapse by tomorrow, what if they're still fucking hanging on? Wasn't that the whole thing with the Torah, the menorah or whatever? 8 crazy nights or some shit, the oil just kept on going. So even though when people, are discounted and they think that they're down and out for the count, people love an underdog. People love an underdog. So I hope the Ukrainian military kicks some ass and takes some fucking names. I don't know, if they're just going to give up or if they actually have some, I don't know if they have, what weapons they have. Peaceful Ukrainian cities are under, attack right now. This is a war of aggression. Ukraine has to defend itself. Because if it doesn't, then it's already lost. And the world has to stop Putin. And we need to act right now. It's going on right now. It took like 8 or 9 or 10 coalitions to stop Napoleon's imperialism. Napoleon just kept conquering new territory after new territory. And, the world's powers, it just took them forever to get a coalition together and then to stop him. History favors the bold. So all those coalitions, it just took, too long to go chasing Napoleon. So fuck Putin. Fuck this bullshit. This bullshit pisses me the fuck off. I wouldn't like it if Putin was invading Canada, if he was invading America, if he was invading Mexico. He's been a dictator since 1999. All of his elections are bullshit. He's never known democracy or freedom. He hates gay folks, transphobic, homophobic. He's anti-woman, so misogynist. He's just a pile of shit. Just a big old gigantic pile of shit is running Russia right now. And now a gigantic pile of shit wants to steal Ukraine and make it a part of Russia, as though I always thought of Russia as like a bunch of tough guys, but Jesus Christ, if Putin is their god, king, frog, princess, they can't be that tough. Crimea, the referendum in Crimea, 150% turnout rate, 340% voted for the Russian integration. Where are the fucking ninjas at? Do we finance ninja training in Japan? If not, we need to. We need to start that up soon. Ukraine's sovereignty, apparently for Putin, is a mistake of history, right? It's just Lenin's. It's Lenin's Ukraine. It's a recent creation, an obscure entity. There was a struggle between Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, there you got Ukraine. Over the contours of the national state, he harshly criticized Lenin for pushing a confederation of supposedly an independent states, which then were able to become independent nations after the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Less than 3% of the vote in the parliamentary elections in 2019. You got to have, they have these coalition governments, so that's left-wing governments. The right-wing groups aren't going to get any power whatsoever. So less than 3% seems like, maybe less than 30%. You know what? Less than 3%. That means neo-Nazis aren't part of the government. So the neo-Nazis might be here and there, but less than 3% of the vote. The right-wing groups aren't getting power in Ukraine. They're there, but, not above ground. They're in the closet. South Ossetia, Abkhazia. So, Putin took over 2 regions in Georgia and then he just stopped. But he didn't stop in Ukraine. So, when it comes to is he a Hitler or is he an Otto von Bismarck? He's a Hitler. He's a Hitler. Which is ironic because he's going to stop the Nazification and he's going to demilitarize Ukraine. But he's been talking about the Donbass region, saying that there's a genocide to the Russians that are there. NATO has a terrible record, Libya, Afghanistan, Yugoslavia, so NATO wasn't supposed to go past Germany. But the Baltic states are states. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, these are all Moldova. Right-wing political groups did poorly in 2014 as well. So there's not an 8-year puppet regime installed by the U.S. coup d'etat 2014. There's a Euromaidan protest. So that's the, balance there. Was it a coup d'etat or was it a protest, revolutionary movement that came about from Ukraine's, was it an organic revolution? A spontaneous onset of the protest, or was it actually, a coup d'etat? One person's coup d'etat is another, man's revolution. Vladimir Lenin's Ukraine. So that means Putin is trying to destroy Vladimir Lenin's Ukraine. That son of a bitch. They starve 4 million people. The Bolsheviks are terrible, destroying the museum and the culture of the Ukrainians. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck were the damn Bolsheviks up to in Ukraine? Apparently, Ukraine needs their own independent judiciary. They do not need to be an absolute unitary state. They fucked up a whole bunch of times. I bet you the markets will go tumbling. The Cossacks, it's a militaristic group, first formed region labeled Ukraine on old maps. They have no clear ethnic origins. Over the centuries, they variously fought with and against Russia. In the 18th to the 20th centuries, Russia violently repressed an emerging Ukrainian culture and language. What the fuck? And you know what? There's some people in Ukraine that's like, you know what? We've been at war with Russia for 8 fucking years. Now it's official. Big whippity skippity doodah day. Ukraine on Wednesday took steps to brace for a possible Russian invasion, declaring a nationwide state of emergency, calling up 36,000 military reservists. Damn. I don't know. I don't know what I hope. I hope they win, but if it's clear as day that they're not going to win, I hope they're smart enough to surrender and, live to see another day. It's expensive to occupy a nation. Abkhazian and South Ossetian regions of Georgia, right? 2008, Russia stoked tensions via its South Ossetian proxies that led to a 5-day full-scale war in which Russian forces invaded Georgian government-controlled territory. About 850 people died, and 35,000 Georgians were displaced. So, I guess it wasn't that bad. 850 doesn't sound like, but really one death is, too many. While parts of what is now Ukraine was part of the Russian Empire, the rest of the state was at various times under the control of Poland, Lithuania, and Austria-Hungary. So Ukraine's a part of Russia. No, Ukraine's a part of Poland. Poland should say, hey, Ukraine used to be a part. Lithuania should take Ukraine. And then Austria-Hungary, they should say, hey, no, back in the day, they used to be so we're just going to. Is that how colonialism works? So the British could just take America, right? Well, that used to be our colony, so, you hand America back over. When the Ukrainians were given a choice of remaining with Russia in 1991 national referendum, 84% of the eligible voters went to the polls, and more than 90%, including many, non-Ukrainians. Why are there non-Ukrainians voting? Cast ballots for independence. Okay, so what am I saying? Yeah, Russia supported a separatist uprising in Moldova that led to the creation of the unrecognized state of Transnistria. So does Transnistria still exist today? And how about Abkhazian and South Ossetian? Is South Ossetia and Abkhazia, those republics? The South Ossetia Republic and the Transnistria Republic and the Donetsk Republic and the Luhansk Republic. I guess these are all independent nations that have just been pushing for independence and freedom and want to establish their own constitution and their own republic. And good old Russia just, comes in and helps them out with their business. Russian troops are still occupying Transnistria today. So recognize it or not, the Russian troops are going to stay there. It's not Moldova. It's not Moldova no more. It's not Ukraine. It's not Moldova. Transnistria, that shit is Russia. Why? Because the Russian troops are there. Ay, 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 ay. So the Ukrainian city of Mariupol has already fallen into Russian hands. The Luhansk and the Donetsk republics, get the fuck out of here. That motherfucker wants to take over Ukraine, and everybody that was saying, hey, this is a motherfucking Hitler, watch out, he's going to take over the whole damn country. He's not just protecting these Russian, ethnic Russian and these fucking separatist movement, these border, no, that's not what he's doing. He's a Hitler. Hitler, took over the Rhineland, which was like a region, and then he took over Austria, a whole fucking country. And then he took over the Sudetenlands, and then he took over Czechoslovakia, a whole nother country, two other countries in some respects. So if taking over one whole country didn't convince the people, then taking over a whole nother country, well, that didn't convince people back then either. Then he took over a piece of Lithuania. That is when he took over Danzig. That's when people lost their damn minds. So Ukraine, we're just going to give up Ukraine. We're just going to allow Ukraine 44 million souls. That's like the biggest damn country in Europe. We're just going to... I thought we were protecting Europe. I thought we were like their protectors or some shit. What the fuck happened? We suck. We're not a very good policeman of the world. We're not a good policeman for Europe. We're not a good policeman for anybody. We're not even a good policeman for ourselves. Maybe we should just get out of this whole military empire, bullshit. We're not making any money. It's not making us any friends. We're getting weaker and weaker. It's a multipolarity fucking world. If we can't determine right from wrong, this is clearly, we need to fight for Ukraine. We need to fight for the Ukrainians. We need to get the Ukrainians an election. Let's get them a referendum. Do they want, do they want us? Do they want, what the fuck do the Ukrainian people want? And I don't know what this damn solution is. Is it NATO? Is it the United Nations? U.S. imperialism probably isn't the answer. But, like I said, right is right and wrong is wrong. So the people of Ukraine need us. They need all of us. I don't think economic sanctions is going to do it. The only thing that stops a bad man with a gun is a good man with a gun. And women, Mila Kunis, some of the most beautiful women in the world. Pussy Riot, Putin's a dictator. This shit's for the fucking birds. Yeah, fuck Putin and fuck Russia and then invading Ukraine. Motherfuckers.